Welcome back once again. I appreciate you guys for visiting and sitting in again on the couch with us. Level Up was developed to facilitate challenging real and raw conversations with minorities about their unique experiences in the workforce. And today we have Dr. Tonjia Coverdale with us. And it's a pleasure to sit down with her. She has a really great story, and I'm, glad she can make it, So thank you for doing this again, Dr. Coverdale.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, for those, it's always a pleasure to be here with you for sure. For those who don't know you, could you go a little bit and tell about your backstory? What led you from to where you are right now today?
Oh, okay. So the backstory. Well, again, my name is Dr. Tonjia Coverdale, and I'll start kind of from where we are now, then bring us forward. I am a career technologist, so I've been very fortunate to have an awesome journey in the space, technology space, about 23 years in the space. My career has spanned public sector, private sector, as well as higher education. And I also have 3 degrees in the space. So I consider myself somewhat an enthusiast of technology and really fortunate to have experienced it on so many different levels and in so many different spaces. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. So sitting here in Ohio, where I live now, but born and raised in New York City. And what a journey that technology really has taken me from Brooklyn to now here in Ohio. I attended Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. So I am very much a proponent and supporter for historically Black colleges. Morgan is an HBCU. And I also attended Georgia State University and then Morgan again for my PhD. My career started at IBM. So I started my career actually as what we would call now a developer, but then it was called like programmers. So I actually started as a programmer. So I'm a real techie, and just can't believe that I have had 2 careers really in one. With my tech side, I've gone from being a programmer to the president and chief executive officer of the Virgin Islands Next Generation Network, which is the broadband initiative in the Virgin Islands, where I was responsible for building the first 100% fiber optic network there and bringing high-speed internet to the territory. And then on the academic side, starting my career as an adjunct professor of information systems and taught at various universities, working my way up to being the vice president for IT and chief information officer at Central State University, which is what brought me to Ohio. And now I'm back in corporate and recently started a new role at Nationwide, where I am leading their workforce and legal technology initiatives, supporting the areas of human resources, corporate real estate, aviation, legal, trial, and community programs and foundations. So a big role, really excited about the jump and looking forward to continuing to transform the spaces.
So that's definitely a whole lot of experience right there. And that was amazing the way that you microwaved it all.
It's so much more. We need another show to talk about all of it. Now you have questions.
Definitely. Before we really get into the tech pieces, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about that. I'm aware that you had a lot of experience in D&I also. Could you speak about some of the things that you've done in that space?
So I would say my experience is very organic. As you know, I'm a technologist by trade, but being an African-American woman tech executive, clearly I live and breathe D&I. I am the manifestation of how D&I works and what D&I can do. And when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, not only gender diversity or ethnic diversity, but also socioeconomic diversity and educational diversity. I mentioned I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from inner city Brooklyn, New York. So socioeconomically being able to help others to reach the space just like I have. And also education diversity coming from an HBCU and being able to work in the spaces where I have and not coming from the traditional pipeline where corporations usually recruit. So I've really dedicated my latter part of my career, I would say in the last 10 plus years, to really ensuring socioeconomic pathways through technology access. And so helping to establish programs at HBCUs like Central State University, where we are giving visibility to our students and making sure that companies right in our backyard understand that, hey, we're here, we're qualified, and using my access, because I have access because of my career. So really using my access to open doors for students who are more than qualified, so willing and ready to thrive in a tech economy, but really don't always get a chance. So I'm their voice, I'm their face, I am the example that it works, coming, getting someone that is ethnically diverse, gender diverse, socioeconomically diverse, and educationally diverse, and I can still help them to see that if this diversity leads to a successful candidate in so many spaces. So I don't really have a formal pathway, but it really is just in any space that I'm in, I make sure that I open doors and that I advocate and I am the voice, and D&I works. I'm proof.
Yeah, you're definitely proof of that. I would say that I am too. Just coming from inner city Chicago, and now being working in the same space. We both work in Nationwide together, both related in that space, and also HBCUs. I went to Southern University, so I definitely understand what it takes to kind of get to this space and the amount of work that you put in. So much respect to you there. Can you talk a little bit about how you got interested in tech and when it started to become your passion?
So yeah, I always laugh when someone asks me that, because I fell into technology accidentally. I really, it was just something that I never even thought about. So in my freshman year at Morgan, we had to select our major. And initially I wanted to be a math professor. So I guess I got the professor part right at some point, but I wanted to be a math professor. And you know how you're going to select your classes and it shows you your program of study over the next 4 years. Well, I looked at the program of study for math and it was a lot of math, like a whole lot of math. And I'm thinking, I don't think I like math that much. So I looked through yeah, I'm just like, I don't know about, I like it, but not like semesters worth of math. That's just too much math. So I flipped through the catalog and landed on something called information systems. And I said, okay, it looks balanced. There's some math, there's some marketing, there's some management, there's some accounting. It looked like a really well-balanced curriculum. So I just changed my major. See, this is why I'm a proponent for support for first-generation college students, because that choice I made could have went left really quickly, right? But luckily it didn't, and I'm here. So I just picked this major because it looked cool. Like, honestly, I didn't know what it was. So my mother asked me what was my major, and I told her information systems. She said, well, what's that? And I was like, I don't even know. The look that she gave me told me I better figure it out really quickly. So I finished getting my PhD in it. I always say, well, Mom, did I figure it out enough for you? It wasn't until my junior year at Morgan that I realized that information systems meant technology. Because before, you're just doing your core classes like English and math and science. And guess what? I had never used a computer. I didn't own a computer. I didn't know how to turn it on. I didn't have a computer. So here I am my junior year and figuring out that I'm majoring in technology that I had never used. I had a scholarship to college that was expiring the next year, and I was not going back to Brooklyn. So it became my passion then, because it was like, I've got to learn this. Like, this is what I chose. I'm kind of stuck with it. And so I've got to get good at it. So by the next year, I was a full-time programmer at IBM. And again, I'm here talking to you, so I figured it out. But it was really a forced passion, if you will. And what I love about it, though, and I'm so happy it chose me, is because every day as a tech professional is so different. Because what you learn at the beginning of the day is different by the end of the day and the end of the week and the end of the year. And so I've seen and experienced such an evolution that I love to see what it's going to do next. And more so, it makes me passionate. Tying it back to D&I is how technology changed lives socioeconomically. I've seen how technology changed my life. It has given me access to places and spaces that I would have never dreamed of growing up in Brooklyn. I never would have thought I would be here talking to you. But because the space is so diverse, you have access to so many different people. And it's also why I try and bridge the gap between technology industry and ethnically and other diverse people, is because there's so much wealth that is generated within the technology industry that's not necessarily redistributed in certain communities, because we don't have the bridge and the pathways and the pipelines from our community to technology. So we're not playing in this space is very lucrative. And I believe that technology access can lead to a socioeconomic evolution. And that's kind of how I do D&I. That's my space in D&I. So my passion grew when I saw that technology can take me and others like me to so many different levels, socially, economically, educationally, and professionally.
Yeah, that you made a really good point there, and with just the current state of everything that is going on, I think it's super important, especially for upperly mobile professionals, to be able to protest where they are, and this is a really good thing to do in terms of speaking out about some of the opportunities that technology has allotted you, and even more opportunities to come that African Americans and people of color in general can take advantage of for economic prosperity and just better lives overall. But as we think in it from a nationwide perspective, we've heard Kurt talk about being Nationwide being a company that protects people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care, but they're also enabled by technology. And they do all of those things leveraging tech as a vehicle or a warm entry point to kind of get there. How do you see Nationwide leaning into tech over the next 4 years as we march into 2021?
So, fortunately, being a part of Nationwide Technology, I have a front seat to the continued evolution of not only the technology space within Nationwide, but how we can use technology to drive Nationwide as a whole. So, the beautiful thing about having such a long career in this space is that technology has evolved from being a back office thing, where it's just kind of being a support, where now technology is the driver. Technology is the strategy, and it permeates every part of your business. And so, as we continue to fortify our technology strategy and infuse it more into the business of Nationwide, you're going to see a more agile Nationwide. You're going to see a more nimble Nationwide. You're going to see a more responsive and swift Nationwide. And that's exciting to me because I know the power of technology. I know the power of technology to transform. I've seen it transform long-standing institutions to make them more swift and nimble, like the work I did with Central State University. I think it's the same thing with Nationwide. It's a very traditional insurance company, but as it begins to diversify and be more technology enabled, you're going to see a lot of really innovative products and solutions coming out of the space. So I'm just happy that I get a chance to be on board and help drive and be a passenger, and just super excited.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so as we talk about a lot of those opportunities, what are some of the misconceptions that people who may be on the fringe? Hey, tech looks really cool, but you know, I don't know if this may fit me. What are some of those misconceptions that people have about tech, and how can we kind of combat some of those?
So I would say it just like this: technology isn't for me. That is the biggest misconception, whatever me is. So me could be, I'm an art major, so in order to be in technology, I have to have a computer science degree or an engineering degree, and maybe at one point that was the case. Like when I started in the industry, like you had to have some sort of technical degree. But as technology has permeated throughout society in all aspects, there are so many entry points. Every point's an entry point. So if you're an art major, yes, technology is for you. How about graphic design? If you're a music major, yes, technology is for you. If you are a philosophy major or a biology major or a chemistry major, technology is for everybody, because there is something in your industry in where you are a subject matter expert that you can take that and contribute it to the technology space and have technology be an enabler back to your space. So it's like a reciprocal relationship between your knowledge set and the technology that enables your knowledge set. So technology does not exist in a vacuum anymore. And it's so integrated with just everything. So technology isn't for me. Technology isn't for me can be in diversity and inclusion. I can't tell you how many times I walk in a space. So one of my passions is to make sure that children from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and it doesn't matter about ethnicity, but just really socioeconomic diversity at this point, are exposed to the possibilities of technology, what you can do, the careers in technology. And I walk in a room and people, I'll ask, what do you think I am? Right? What do you think I do? You're a teacher, you're a nurse, you're a model, you're a TV somebody, I'm a technologist. No, you're not. Technology isn't for us. And I've had people, little kids, tell me that. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Technology isn't for Black people. Oh, it isn't? Well, what am I? You know, technology isn't for women. Technology isn't for girls. Technology isn't for me. So whatever me is, I think that is the biggest misconception, because technology is so wide open for everyone. And let me tell you, here's my PSA for technology. The industry, it has so many jobs that remain unfilled, hundreds of thousands of jobs that remain unfilled every year. We're never going to fill them all because technology is so prolific. So let me tell you, I can teach you technology. I can't teach you how to be a critical thinker. You might get that from your philosophy degree, or just, with being a musician. That's fine. If you can think, you can do technology. So technology is for everybody.
I definitely agree with that. And you also touched on a point. A lot of kids don't necessarily get to see a lot of technologists that look like them, working in the space. I think as of last year, African Americans represented 15% of associates in, tech fields, and even less of that in executive levels. What are some of the ways that we can kind of work to address that? And are there any initiatives or programs that they already have now that could influence those numbers?
So I would say definitely creating concerted pipelines. Companies have to make an effort to go to spaces, educational spaces, and begin to form these pathways. They have to be a concerted effort, because if you don't see a technologist at your career fair, when you go to select a career, you're not going to think that that's an option, because you don't know what you don't know. So we've got to get people like us, technologists, in front of kids in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Yeah. It's too late in high school. It's even too late in college. I didn't start until I was 18. I don't know how, but that's not normal, right? Mm-hmm. Most people would have given up and said, I'm not doing this. But I had other reasons that I persisted. But we have to start getting in front of these students at the same time as the firefighters are getting there, and the nurses and the doctors and the police officers and everybody else are getting there. We also need to show them that, again, technology is for them. Do you play a game? Yes. Do you use an app? Yes. Are you on TikTok? Yes. Well, then technology is for you. And
TikTok gets them every time.
Yeah. How can I make TikTok better? I bet you if you sat down and asked the child, how can I make TikTok better at? They would have a whole list of requirements that a technologist could then take and then make a new release of TikTok. That would be so great, because they are the consumers. So we have to turn consumers into creators. But in order to do that, I believe, is through education. It's through education access and education opportunities, but it has to come from industry. Industry being we can't wait for this pipeline, this groundswell to happen naturally. We have to stoke it, create it. We have to plant the seeds, cultivate it, and just really provide those opportunities. Because when you don't see somebody there, you may not think it's for you. And I can't tell you how many spaces I still walk in 20 plus years. It's not different now than 20 plus years ago when I started. I thought it might be, and maybe there's a few more people, but it's not enough for us to wait for an organic happening to occur. We have to do more. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I think that, you being an educator at heart, and also a technologist, and also an HBCU graduate, and also a doctor in philosophy, all of those things kind of help you to understand all of the, that you need to, educate the youth and start really young, but also how to do that in their voice. I think sometimes we can speak above everyone's head, and I think that happens in a workspace a lot of the times too. But with that said, I have a couple more questions for you, and then we'll cut off. But what has helped you to get to where you are, and what advice would you have for others that are setting off in a similar direction?
I love that question because it helps me in the split second that you're asking to reflect across a career journey that has been unbelievable for me. Every day that I sit in any seat that I'm in, I am so grateful because I don't know that there was any one thing that I did but be myself, but just be who I am. Because I realized in the spaces that I was coming up in career-wise, professionally, that I couldn't try to be like anybody else because I wasn't like anybody else in the space. So I can't try to be like him, whoever he is, because that's the first barrier, is the gender. I'm not a male, so I can't pretend to do that. So I learned early in my career to just be me. And sometimes that's a gamble because me is very much a colorful, bold, optimistic, happy, loving, caring, nurturing person that doesn't usually exist in certain spaces, corporate spaces, can be sterile at times, which is one reason why I love Nationwide, because it really values people, and that's why I'm there. But in many other tech spaces, that was the norm. And so I challenged everyone to conform to who I was because I was never willing to give me up. And I would say that. So to anyone who wants to climb, I would say be yourself. And there are expectations and social norms, okay? So you conform to that. You work within the parameters of that. But in terms of your own intrinsic value, first know who you are. Who are you? What's your personal mission? What is your personal vision? Run yourself like you would run a company. A company just wouldn't say, hey, I'm a company, I exist, right? There's a mission, there's a vision, there's core values. What is your mission, vision, and core values? And stay true to that guiding principles, because you're going to get tested. People are going to push your boundaries. If one of your core principles is integrity, for example, and you encounter a situation where you have to act outside of integrity, are you willing to die on that hill just to advance? So I would just say that's what it's going to do. And really being persistent, really persistent and really bold. I like to say that I'm so happy that I was born and raised in New York City, because I think everything that I've been and done is because I am literally a native New Yorker. So I'm going to walk in a space, I'm going to be fearless, whatever, forget about it. You know, like this is a real thing, right? But it's that tenacity and that Brooklyn tough that resides deep in me. That's like, oh, you will not win. Oh no, you won't. And whatever win is, right? It's not a battle, but sometimes it is. People will try and take you off your horse. So if somebody's coming off the horse, it's not going to be me. So I really think that internal toughness and staying true to me would be fearlessness. I think if I could sum it all up, I think people are fearful to be themselves. People are afraid to be themselves. People are afraid to show themselves. People are afraid that they may not be accepted. So it's the fearlessness to dare to be different in a space where I was obviously different, so why not? And dare to be me. Fearlessness would be the word. And can I say one more thing? Are we done? Okay. If anyone wants to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I am more than happy to help anybody on their own journey. I'm more than happy to help you navigate. So I would love to serve as a resource for whoever just wants to have some guidance.
I don't think I'll just put a pin in it right there because that was great, you know, and I really appreciate you circling back for this interview and bringing your authentic, fearless self. Um, and to kind of sum it up, you know, this is a really great conversation. I really appreciate you being here. You know, to the viewers, I hope you all enjoyed the show and were able to get a lot of value out of Dr. Coverdale being here and speaking with us and sitting with us today. Thank you all again, once again, for tuning in. Until next time, leave a comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and share button. Please share this video. Hashtag love.